Good evening. I'll just flash a smile and then cover back up because it's really hard. So as Dr. Smith said, that tonight we're going to discuss House Bill 3, Early Literacy, Early Math, and CCMR. The purpose of this presentation is to seek board approval, next slide, for House Bill 3, Early Literacy, Early Math, and CCMR goals, and approve key measures, progress measures to include BISD goals. Just a little bit of background information. During the 86th legislation, it was required that school boards would adopt these early literacy goals. It was specific that we would need to adopt goals at the third grade level for MEET, STAR, and I'll talk through that in a minute, and the CCMR. This is to align with the state's work around 60-30 Texas. If you're not familiar with that, there's a goal in Texas that we will be the highest achieving state in the country with, by 2030, 60% of our of Texans having a certificate or a degree, a college degree. And so the research behind that is that third grade leads towards, is connected to early high school dropout, and then CCMR is connected directly to students leaving college and career ready. And so that's the premise behind these goals. These were set out, like I said, in 2019, prior to a COVID world. Next, if you will, so like I said, and I'll break down each of the goals, but before I begin, the third grade goal requirement is to be is for students to be passing at the MEETs or higher level. And so just a quick refresher, in 2017, the state required us to begin administering the STAR assessment, and there are 4 performance levels associated with that. Did not meet, approaches, and approaches is actually considered passing. So if a student is at the approaches level, they are considered passing the test. Meets, which is students that are performing at grade level expectations as measured on STAR, and then masters, students are performing above grade level. And of course, our goal would be for students to be at the meets or masters level. Next slide. So before us, we have 3 specific goals. First, I'll give you all 3 goals, and then I'll break down each one individually. So our first goal is that the percent of third grade students that score meets grade level or above on STAR will increase from 50 to 60% by June of 2024. I want to point out that a requirement is that the goals are set for 5 years. The second is the percent of third grade students that score meets grade level or above on STAR Math will increase from 52 to 60% by June of 2024. Both of those scores, our goals, have a benchmark measure using our 2019 STAR performance because we did not have 2020 STAR performance to use. And then the final goal is the percentage of graduates that meet the criteria for CCMR will increase from 72% to 100% by June 2024. I'll break down each of those and how we plan to progress measure. Next slide. So with our third grade reading score, of course, we set what we would call a stretch goal. We're currently at 50%. The state was performing at 45% and Region 12 at 41%. So while we're higher than the state, 50 doesn't sound like a number that anyone would want, but a stretch goal for us is to get to 60%. That's a 10-point increase in 5 years, and that's a pretty significant increase. How we came to that was looking at school districts at our size, maybe that don't have the same demographics as us, but could achieve that goal at a system of that size. And we look at, now when I'm looking at data, I'm looking at 12 to 15,000 students because we're going to be at 15,000 students. We just heard that. And so looking through that goal. When we look at how to improve third grade STAR performance, it's not just in third grade where that work begins. And so we actually progress measure pre-K using the circle assessment, kindergarten using Text Kia, and then first and second grade using Star Renaissance. And so our key progress measures are going to be our kindergarten at 75% or more kindergarten students will score on track in reading as measured by Text Kia. And then for second grade, the percent of second grade students that score on track in reading as measured by Star Renaissance. And that will increase from 48% to 62% by the end of the year. So that's the same group of students. Our progress measures are set at 1-year goals, and those are locally determined. So we could use anything that we want. Right now, we're going to use those assessments, but I can tell you that we're really going to study our assessments and what we're doing in Belton. That'll be reflected in the district improvement plan and what assessments are we giving and what that data tells us, so we can really strengthen that our assessments to inform instruction and student performance. Before I move to math, are there any questions around the reading? So our board adopts the goals, and then those are going to be reflected in our superintendent's evaluation. But it's not a report. There's not a targeted improvement system in place. And there, I will tell you, just in studying districts across the state, there's not even a shared philosophy on how these goals are set. And so it was up to us to determine locally that we wanted to do stretch goals that will stretch our system, not goals that we could just, I've seen districts that are reporting a 1% gain over 5 years. Just so it's a locally determined. The criteria required is that it was based on third grade meets and that it was over 5 years. So right now we've been working with our campus, and they're mirroring our district goals, and those will be coming out and they'll be reflected in their campus plans. And so where we're looking at a 5-point gain, they too are looking at that. However, as we begin to study more and work through this work and work through these assessments, because some of these are relatively new assessments for us, there will be campuses that are setting different goals, specifically where we want them to challenge, like where on your campus are your needs different. We have a few campuses that are aiming to surpass our goal, and because they're starting at a different place than the district overall.
So board, real quick, I think you all know my concerns about STAR testing prior to the pandemic. And so I wanted to applaud Deanna and the group real quickly. I just want to point out key progress measures are internal assessments that Belton ISD has chosen over the past few years to use. And so when she says we're going to dive into really making sure these are what matters most, the byproduct of all of it is the STAR assessment. Like the STAR assessment and those scores, they're going to come when we decide on the best measures to track growth of each student every year and to support each and every student in their growth, and to provide teachers with the right tools for assessment and to let them do the job of teaching. And bringing, this is a really tricky one. I'll just call it out right now. We didn't even have STAR testing in the spring, but yet we're still required by TEA to have you all set goals for STAR testing by January. So we're going to do our best to meet those STAR targets, but probably the most important information is found in those key progress measures in this presentation.
And working, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, because it is challenging. For these first two goals, I think it's important to remind everyone that the requirements to set these goals are based on a one-time, one administration, one grade level test. And then the goal for third grade goes over 5 years, but keep in mind it's a different group of kids testing every year. And we see sometimes some fluctuation in that with our kids, and so we've got to look at systemic support in our system, because it will be a different group of students. Third grade math, very similar to third grade reading. We are starting, next slide. 52% to 60%. I would point out that the state is currently at 49% and Region 12 at 46. Likewise, we studied districts in 12 to 15,000 and we chose to stretch our system to 60%. For our progress measures, these are a little different. We are recommending STAR Renaissance for both first and second grade. Currently, we administer the text KIA for kindergarten. There are some challenges with the math assessment for at-home learners, and so because of those challenges in administration with that particular assessment, we are going to be using STAR Renaissance for first and second grade. Again, the first grade is the percent of first grade students who are on track in math as measured by STAR Renaissance, increasing from 54% to 68%. Both of our progress measures will be the same group of students. So it's a one-year goal from beginning of year to end of year. So it's a little different than what that third grade, how that third grade measure is set. And then our third goal is our CCMR. Our CCMR goal, next slide, is the percentage of graduates that meet the criteria for CCMR will increase from 72% to 100% by June of 2024. This is a significant stretch goal for our system, but it's important in what we're saying and the work we're doing to support each and every student. CCMR is not one measure on one day with one group of students. It is a system that's designed to earn credit over time. So and over a multitude of different measures. In those circles referenced are the measures such as industry-based certifications, graduating with an IEP work ready, TSIA, SAT, ACT, AP exams, college prep courses, dual credit, associate's degree, and military readiness. Multiple ways that we can reach out and work with individual students to prepare them for their path post-graduation. However, our key progress measures, it does not mean it's the only way we will work to improve our CCMR and to achieve that goal, but it's the two areas that we want to significantly work through and target for this year. The first being the percent of students that score at or above the TSIA cut score on both ELAR reading and math, which will increase from 44 to 46% by June of 2021. Not to confuse everyone, but TSIA is a specific assessment. You may have heard TSI, that encompasses many things. That encompasses an assessment, SAT, ACT. TSIA is a specific assessment. It is the one that is used for students to begin to take college work. So beginning as a sophomore, students who plan on taking dual credit must pass the TSIA and ELA reading and math. In addition, we want our seniors to have that when they are going to college. Some colleges, in the state of Texas, colleges recognize TSIA. Outside of Texas, they usually look at SAT or ACT. So we specifically want to focus on that assessment. In addition, we want to focus on the percent of students that earn an industry-based certification from the state-approved list and increase from 15 to 18% by June of 2021. There's been significant work already with our CTE teachers and focusing on our industry-based certifications. In a new COVID world, with all of these measures, we are learning and focusing on ways to support students both at school and at home. And that's a challenge with especially industry-based certifications, but we believe they're really working it with our students to make sure that they're meeting those goals as they can. And so these are our goals tonight and our three board HB3 goals, as well as the key progress measures for each one. Any questions in regard to these?
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you, Deanna, because, when we very first took this HB3 training, I was worried we were going to have to come up with these. This is
That's a great thing.
So thank you. I think these are very reasonable, and I think we can do it. I think we really can.
I think we are going to grow as a system in our learning, absolutely.
can we get back to the TSIA for a second?
Yes, we
I'm
can.
still in my TSI mindset, so.
I know, it's so confusing.
Yeah, so the only students that take that assessment are the ones who are pursuing dual credit or, no?
No, we test our juniors and our seniors as well. The only sophomores that typically take that assessment are those that are planning on taking their junior, that are taking credit, dual credit their junior year.
Okay.
But juniors need it as well because it is a measure to get into college, either 4-year or 2-year. And it, your performance on it allows you the ability, so if you do not, let me say it like this, if you do not perform well on that assessment, you may be taking a developmental course when you go to college, and we certainly want to avoid that for our students where possible, and so we do want to test them. We provide currently, and we pay for the first assessment of that, and it's a tricky assessment because you take unit tests based on your performance and how you do, and we're looking at working with high school to provide multiple opportunities, and we'll also be looking at how to support strategies for that assessment and content in our high school courses, most likely our English 3 and Algebra 2.
Okay.
I just have a clarification question. So this is part of the evaluation process for our superintendent, some of this material that we're talking about, that's correct, right?
Correct.
So we bring in a new superintendent midway through the year. 10 days later, the whole thing crashes.
Why do you do this to me?
We go through the first semester with 70% of our kids. We love you, man.
Now you know my anxiety around this. How about that?
I just think talking about STAR and this current thing, I feel for you guys, and believe me, we would back y'all 1,000%. We want our kids to achieve, but for them to keep holding y'all's feet to the fire in this situation is typical 2020 to me.
Well, here's what I'll say. We support our teachers.
Absolutely.
And this is not the only measure that we value in our system. I feel confident saying that. It is these goals were required to have the board adopt with the specific measures, as I stated, because that's the requirement. Now, when we adopt them, and if we're required to adopt them, we're going to take them seriously. I mean, we're going to set bars for us to strive for. But it's not the only measure. The work that we're doing and will be referenced in our district plan is the deeper work. The work, I'll say, of Journey of a Graduate, the work around exceptional learning for each and every student, studying our assessments and what those mean to us and what they tell us and how we use them, and how all those things are what is the work we need to do, and that we're including teacher voice on. When we talk about assessments, I will have teachers in the room with us. We've heard it loud and clear that they've got questions on our assessments, so we'll partner with them. And so I think that's the message, is that it's one measure, and we take it serious, but there's a lot of other measures we're working on. Because I too like our superintendent.
How often is the STAR Renaissance administered to students?
Beginning, middle, and end of year, 3 times a year.
You have your first set of data points already for this year?
We do.
Thanks.
But you have one more?
Well, yeah, it's similar to that, right? So the 54% of first graders who have passed for math, like that's already big.
That is our beginning. So the beginning of the year scores and the key progress measures are our current beginning of year place points, yes. Sorry, I didn't put that up.
Any other questions or comments? Before we take action, just a couple of things, because I am vertically challenged and I can't see everybody. If you make the motion, please state your name out loud. If you make the second, please state your name. Y'all want me to be up and down. I almost fell last time, I'm just saying. When I ask all hands in favor, please raise your hand, but if you do not vote, please state that as well, so we can get that on record. And after we take action on this particular item, we need to take a quick break because technology needs to do something with our microphones and reboot something. So we'll take a short break after we make the motion here, after we take action. So the administrative recommendation is to adopt House Bill 3 goals and associated key progress measures as presented. Is there a I can see you. Is there a second?
Janet Lee.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll take a short break and we'll let our technology folks do what they need to do to keep us going. And as soon as Jeff Norwood stops talking, I think we can get started. I don't want to call anybody out. So the next item on our agenda, that's awesome. The next item on our agenda, we're going to talk about targeted improvement plan.
Okay, yes, we are going to talk about our Southwest Elementary Targeted Improvement Plan. So if you'll forward through to that presentation, please. Oh, no, I guess you're seeing the actual plan in front of you. There should be a slide. There it is. Okay, perfect. So the purpose of this presentation is to seek board approval of the Targeted Improvement Plan for Southwest Elementary. So as you may recall, we were here over a year ago to seek approval on their first Targeted Improvement Plan. At that time, the intention was that we would have STAR 2020, and there would be work there done, and there would be a change in rating. With the cancellation of STAR 2020, there were no new ratings for this school year, leaving the campus in continued targeted improvement. So therefore, we are here tonight to seek approval for their new plan as developed. Next slide. So just a reminder, the plans are designed around the Effective Schools framework. So you start with effective instruction in the classroom, supported by well-supported effective teachers, high-quality curriculum, a positive school culture, and then overall strong school leadership and planning. And these tenets are what the state uses and says are the attributes of highly effective schools and ones that schools improvement focus on. With this tonight, there are 3 areas of prioritization for Southwest Targeted Plan. Next slide. The first one is to create a compelling and aligned vision, mission, goals, and values focused on a safe environment and high expectations. I want to say that the work from Southwest is very intentional with our learners. And again, they've been presented with a new challenge this year because as they've developed this plan, they are developing it for a hybrid world. They currently have right at 315 or so at-school learners and 72 at-home learners. And so they are challenged with focusing on a safe environment, and that has a whole new meaning because they're implementing mitigation strategies for their campus, as well as ensuring that there's those high-quality instructional strategies in place. In addition, they're supporting their at-home learners, and they've done an exceptional job with reaching out to those learners. Their second goal they'll focus on is to develop a campus of instructional leaders with clear roles and responsibilities. Since we last presented this plan, we have a new principal, not new to Belton ISD by any means, but Dawn Schiller is new and serving full-time in the role as principal. We have a fairly new AP. This is her second or third year, but new. And then a new instructional coach who was highly effective teacher on the campus who assumed that new role. In addition, they have 8 new teachers on the campus. They have focused on written rules. In their plan, it talks about their goal is to really remove the barrier that they're putting out fires, but that their roles are clearly aligned and are focused around instructional leaders and supporting their teachers in high-quality instruction, data-driven decision-making, and safety mitigation for their staff. And I do want to, I've asked Dawn, she's here tonight, it's her day-to-day leadership that makes this plan go. I'm here tonight to present the plan for you, but I don't want it to get lost that the person that does this day in and day out and leads that campus is Dawn Schiller, and we appreciate her. And then that third, I'm smiling, but again, I have a mask. I just like to clarify that. And then the third goal is to ensure objective-driven daily lessons with formative assessments. And Dawn's work in the plan is outlined to provide ensure there's data protocols for PLCs to make sure teachers are tracking their data. They have systems to track that, and that's being used to inform instruction to meet the needs of their students. And when we talk about meeting the needs of students, it's both those students that are struggling, but it's also challenging our students. When we have kids that are high performing, it's making sure that when we adjust our curriculum, it meets their needs as well. And so these are the 3 areas that Southwest has in their plan. I also want to spend just a moment and thank the board on behalf of Southwest. The incentive pay, as you'll recall, so since we last talked, there was an incentive pay retention and hiring of new teachers. What's been most significant in that work is not only the incentive pay, but the early hiring. The early hiring put us in a position to have high-quality teachers on staff ready to go and not be last minute in our hiring practices for them. Facility improvements. If you've not seen Southwest and all of the work that's gone in to the facility and brightening it up and the pride that has created among the staff, it's a great place to be. Just overall, your support and morale. There are some exceptional teachers at Southwest. Again, the culture is just a direct product of the role that the administration team takes in loving their students and loving their teachers and holding them to high expectations, but creating that. And then also the board, we've hired 2 new positions, and those are our executive directors of leadership. And so they have been, Gabby works directly with Southwest, Gabby Nino. She's here tonight as well. And I think that's provided a nice support layer so that I'm in a role of working on teaching and learning, and then their support directly for principals to partner with them along the way. And so want to thank you for all those initiatives, because it's that kind of commitment. When we talked about the plan a year ago, we talked about it's not only the school that needs to make the commitment, but it's the district that stands behind them and makes a commitment for that school. And I feel like you all have played a huge role in that, and so thank you tonight for that.
Thank you for that. I do want to express, just hold on, I'm coming, hold on. I do want to express a big heartfelt thank you to Ms. Dawn Schiller. I recall being on campus, and you make a big difference over there. Even as an interim, you were operating as you were there permanently. You changed the culture over there. You were telling them to dream big. Even though you may not have been able to provide every little thing, but you made it okay for them to ask for colored copy paper if they needed it, So I really appreciate just even way back then, before we ever got to this point, you were already offering those strong leadership skills, and that is valuable because, as we know, whatever happens at the bottom starts at the top. So thank you so much. Mr. Taggart.
I want to take this off so make sure you'll hear me. I've been to Southwest. Southwest has a very special place in my heart, and the work that is done there is inspiring by you, Don, and Tammy Baggerly, and all of the leaders that you have there on that campus. You guys do great work. And I want you to know, on behalf of this board, we are your biggest fans, and we root for you every day. So we have your back, and we will do everything we can personally to support you.
Okay, my turn. So one of the coolest things in my 4 years of being on the board was last spring when you brought some of us together with a leadership team, and we sat there in the portable over there at Southwest, and we talked about all these initiatives and these plans. And I knew that things were going to work when Don switched over from interim to full time. My father-in-law, Ed Wilkes, was a principal at that campus for 21 years, I think. And at that time, they were a recognized campus, whatever that meant back in the old days. And it takes a culture, and my father-in-law was good at that. He built a team, and those teachers came and stayed at that campus for years and years. And it was a love, and I've seen it in this one. And Tammy, they cry, they get emotional about things. And when we did that facility stuff, that's still probably my favorite thing that I've been able to be part of with facilities is what's going on out there. But it's y'all's hearts that are making the difference. And it's whatever these goals are, there's a lot of numbers here. I'm a facilities guy. Numbers are kind of hard sometimes. But we know y'all are going to get there. There's no doubt in my mind. So thank y'all for what you're doing. And thanks to our leadership team, Deanna, and your leadership and your people who put these initiatives into place. Because the recruitment and the extra money, Todd, those ideas, those have gone so far putting together a solid team. So it's really cool to see what's going on out there.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll just volunteer to take any board member to Southwest Elementary School on a tour someday, and I'll volunteer to take our commissioner on a tour as well, because if you haven't been to Southwest Elementary School, you'd be super proud of what you see in those classrooms every day, and I'd be willing to brag about that to anybody in the state. So thank you, Dawn, for your leadership in that too.
Indeed. Okay, well, at this time, we can go ahead and, is there, the administrative recommendation is to approve targeted improvement plan for Southwest Elementary as presented. Is there a motion to approve? Dr. Montgomery, I see a second from Mr. Alcozer. All in favor, please raise your hand. That's all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's passed unanimously. Okay, next item on our agenda, we're going to talk about our employment of administrative employees.
As we continue to grow and continue to evolve as a school district, we do hire new people, and Mr. Schiller is going to tell us a little bit about our most recent administrative hire that we're bringing to y'all.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. How are y'all?
Awesome. How are
We
you?
are recommending one recommendation to you tonight, and that is for assistant principal at Bex, and that is Courtney Brewer. Courtney has a master's degree in education from Grand Canyon University. She has a bachelor's degree from Texas A&M University of Central Texas, and she has 8 years in education with 3 of those years being here at Belton ISD at High Point Elementary as a teacher. And that is the only recommendation we have for you tonight.
Thank you. Any comments or discussion? Is there a motion to approve as presented? Jeff Norwood, is there a second? Mr. Taggart, all in favor, please raise your hand. That passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to BISD. Awesome. We're just moving and grooving. And so the next item on our agenda, we're going to talk about the closeout of Belton High School Orchestra.
I'm going to invite Mike Morgan to come on up and lead us through that. This is an exciting one, and you saw the fruits of orchestra on our transition here to the board meeting tonight. So, Mr. Morgan.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam President, Board of Trustees. It's really my pleasure to get to bring this one forward tonight. One of our strongest and fastest growing programs in Belton Independent School District is our orchestra program. We started a project in the winter or in the fall of 2018. And we saw construction begin in the summer of 2019 and completion in October of 2020. So tonight, my purpose in coming here is to ask you to consider and to accept and close the BHS Orchestra Edition and approve our final payout for the project. I'm going to be joined tonight by several friends who are going to help us ask for the closeout to this project. It's a beautiful facility, and we know that it's going to serve the students of BISD for decades to come. So we will have Jared Sturzinger of O'Connell Robertson, Ben Smith, BHS principal, and then we'll have 2 of our senior orchestra members, Julie Johnson and Gwyneth Sessionmeyer. And I would like to say, we asked them, since they were going to come tonight anyway to speak, we asked them to go ahead and bring their instruments with them and play some music for us during the intermission between the workshop and between the board meeting. And I'd like to just give them one more round of applause. They did an excellent job. It was beautiful. So to start this, there are thanks that go around, and the first thanks has to go to our BISD Board of Trustees. Over the years and consistently, y'all have shown a commitment to our fine arts programs and a commitment to the arts themselves, and you've continued to value and support extracurricular activities. And anytime we can do that, we know the value that these programs have on our students and in making them well-rounded and well-shaped members of society as they finish their education here at BISD. So first and foremost, we want to thank you guys for that continued support and commitment to our fine arts programs. This was kind of a unique project because from start to finish, we had 3 different superintendents who all had a part. So we would obviously like to thank Superintendent Matt Smith, and interim superintendent Robin Battershell, and former superintendent Susan Kincannon, in the role that all 3 of those leaders played in this project. And also our retired deputy superintendent Robert Mueller, who was very instrumental in the construction projects of the last several years. BISD Director of Facilities and Construction David Bennett, who led the day-to-day charge on our behalf. and then O'Connell Robertson, Jared Sturzinger, and Kurt Schwartduffer and their team, Built Right Construction, who is our general contractor, BHS Principal Ben Smith, BISD Fine Arts Director Keith Zulke, and BHS Orchestra Director John Fairley, and then the many BISD orchestra students and families for the incredible growth and support that we've seen that program have over the past decade. So there's a lot of people involved in this, and at the end of the day, we feel like we've got an exceptional facility that's going to facilitate great growth and a great product coming out of our orchestra. So I would ask Jared Sturzinger to come down at this time, and he's going to just say a few words about the completion of the project.
Thank you, Mike. It's hard to believe that 2.5 years ago, we were standing here, and that was actually the first time that we really talked about this project, and it was really in light of how do we support lockers and sports and athletics, what's the vision moving forward. We're deep in Lake Belton High School at that point. And so we were able to eventually, a year later, actually kick off the project, work through the design process, ultimately towards a June of 19 construction kickoff, finished this past summer. And despite, some troubles there with BHS traffic up front that they got to live through and have some fun through the spaghetti in the parking lot, but worked through a pandemic. And out of all of it, you may have actually got 6 more inches of building, but we're not going to say anything about that at the end of the day. Ultimately, this project was really that focus on the fine arts in Belton ISD of really the transition for like Belton High School, the 9 back to Belton Middle School. We knew that we had to support the orchestra program moving forward. So this really gave the orchestra that new home with a rehearsal hall, with sectional hall, practice rooms, flexibility with the other fine arts programs there in the area of locating it right there. Adjacent to the band hall, so there's shared library, shared offices, and instrument storage. And ultimately, this actually gave a new opportunity for a front door to the campus. So actually, if you click through the slides here, you'll see what, if you remember way back in the day, feels like eons ago, what it looked like with the kind of pyramidal front entrance. And then if you go to the next slide, really what that looks like today. Of really kind of creating a great new front door, celebrating Belton High School campus, the original high school in the district, and being able to pull that forward. So on behalf of O'Connell Robertson, we're pleased as always to be partners with Belton ISD, excited to see this come to life, excited to see the students playing there, and love working on the project. So thank you all very much.
Well, thank you for just a beautiful state-of-the-art facility. This is amazing.
Absolutely. And then who's next? Okay.
Madam President, Board, Matt, thank y'all again for providing us the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Orchestra Hall tonight. Again, as we've heard, such an incredible addition for our kids, and this celebration tonight is very special to many of our kids and families, not only that are currently here, but those that are a part of the orchestra family. And I know they're excited about what we're providing and adding to them, to their program. And what is special about this is it's really providing them a true home at Belton High School. The floating back and forth from the 9, carrying the instruments or not carrying, but that was an ordeal for our kiddos. And so this was a great opportunity to really provide them with a place that they can be proud of and they feel connected to. And a little story background, as a first-year administrator at Lake Belton Middle School in 2011, I vividly remember all the small orchestra programs in their early years across the district. And specifically at Lake Belton, I remember our middle school kids were in a small classroom. I remember them every day walking by and seeing the few kids in that classroom playing their hearts out. And it was very clear that they were passionate about their music and that they were there for a program that they really, truly loved. And now in 2020, we are so proud of how far this orchestra program has come. I mean, all the awards and accolades that it's brought, we all know about, and we certainly know there's more coming from this excellent program. And so that this facility is so nicely aligned with that growth of the program, but also with the work and successes these kids have put in. These kids are some of the hardest working kids that I've been around, and it's always a joy to walk in that orchestra room and see them play and the smiles on their face and just the dedication. It is hard. Orchestra is hard. To play those instruments, my gosh, what y'all do is just incredible. So we're so proud of them, and I know these kids are beyond thrilled about their new orchestra hall. And with that, I would like to turn the mic over to our two very talented seniors who played for us again earlier tonight, Julie and Gwyneth. So girls, come on up, please.
All right. Firstly, I'd like to say good evening and thank you so much for having us here tonight. We are more than thrilled to have this opportunity and this experience to be speaking in front of y'all and express our gratitude towards the building of the center. I'd like to start off with talking about my earlier years in playing the violin. I'm a violinist of 10 years, but I've been involved in Belton ISD orchestra program for 7 since I was in 6th grade. As Mr. Smith was talking about, I was one of those few students at Lake Belton Middle School who was in maybe like a 10-person class, a very small orchestra, just loving to be there and enjoying it just so much. And then, it's hard to express my thoughts right now because I'm nervous, but give me a second. Going from being in a 10-person class to the transition to being in a high school group was just amazing, but it still felt disconnected because we were at the 9. And I remember my first day, my freshman year, getting lost and, trying to find my class and seeing that it was called a band hall was kind of insulting. I was like, wow, I really feel like we're cared about. But we still, regardless, really enjoyed our experience in that hall. But this new addition has truly benefited us so much. We have more soundproof walls in our practice rooms, and we can actually rehearse multiple things at once now, rather than having maybe a small group of 10 people in a very tight space. And it's just truly amazing, and I just want to say thank you again. This program has truly grown so much, and I've experienced it myself over the past 7 years being involved in it. And again, just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So my name is Julie Johnson, and I, too, have also been in this orchestra program ever since I was in 6th grade. I just want to let y'all know that from the beginning, playing in maybe a 9 or 10-person orchestra with maybe only 5 or 6 players in each section, and then going to the 9 and going to the high school now finally, has taught me so many things that I can take on to the rest of my life. It has truly taught me how the importance of team building is and how to work as a team. Orchestra has also given me many opportunities I wouldn't have been able to have without it. For example, getting to participate in the UIL solo competitions, doing well in the all-region orchestras, and also orchestra has inspired me to teach students. So the skills I've learned from orchestra have gone to me, and now I can pass them on to my students, and then they can pass them on to others. And it is just a beautiful thing that I've gotten to experience because of the opportunity that y'all have given us to participate in orchestra. I also just want to say thank you so much for letting us come and speak tonight and play for y'all. And we really appreciate everything you do for Belton ISD. Thank you.
Thank you all for those beautiful, heartfelt stories. And just so you'll know, you guys are the wives while we do what we do. So thank you all so much for sharing those stories with us and just reminding us yet again, we think about you all every day. And thank you. I appreciate that.
Madam President, at this time, we would entertain to answer any questions you may have and would also ask that y'all take our recommendation of acceptance and closeout of the orchestra project and release the final payment to Built Right Construction.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions or comments? Dr. Montgomery.
I have one additional comment. I had the pleasure of my daughters going through the orchestra program, but I think we would be, we need to add one more person to our congratulations tonight, and that is John Fairley. He loves his orchestra students. He brings out the best in his orchestra students. He challenges them to go to levels that they didn't think that they could do prior to working with him. So I just want to give a round of applause to John for his work.
Thank you, Dr. Montgomery. Anyone else? Well, at this time, is there a motion to approve as presented? Dr. Montgomery, is there a second? Janet Lee. All in favor, please raise your hand. And just like that, orchestra.
Thank
Woo!
you. Thank you, board.
Awesome. Thank you all. Okay, we'll start off with some reports next. More fun stuff. Facilities Committee report. Mr. Taggart.
Well, as you can see, facilities are very important to a school district. We've seen some examples tonight as what having an environment that's conducive to the elementary school or the orchestra or the athletic program, how important facilities truly are to the educational process. So what we've been kind of wrestling with facilities is we're kind of in a weird spot right now because we're awaiting a report where we can really get a lot of things accomplished for a lot of kids across our district with some monies that we're going to have left over from the generous bond that our stakeholders approved for us 3 years ago. So we're kind of in a holding pattern, but I think what we're going to really start drilling down on, especially Wednesday, is we've got about $850,000 worth of monies that are there that are ready to go, and we're going to try to find a couple of projects maybe over the Christmas holidays that we can start knocking some of these things out, because yes, curriculum is important and student achievement is important, but those facilities go hand in hand with all of those things. So we're going to really try to find a couple things over the holidays where we can let go of some of that, because anybody that knows me since I've been involved in this, I like spending money because that's what we're here for. So, and then I think it's really, I mean, don't put me in charge of facilities if you don't want to spend some money. I mean, let's go. My wife spends it all at home. I get to come up here and spend some. So, no, she likes that. Hey, it's good. So, but what we really need to start thinking about, and that demographer report, I've been waiting to chew on those numbers because that is really the meat to what's going to happen in this district for the next 5 to 10 years. And it's really coming to grips with the needs that we have that already exist. There's going to be some that are going to come to light with Mike's study that they're going to put forth, and we'll get to see the results in March. But we really need to start working with Jennifer, the bond people tonight. She opened our eyes to some of that. That's another $1.8 million there that's going to be helpful. So that's really going to be the focus, is not just trying to get a few things knocked out now and then maybe spring break and then in the summer months, but what we can start putting a plan together that makes the most sense for the future, and that's where we're going to be this week.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments? Yeah, don't quote him about the wife. Don't do that. All righty. Seeing no questions or comments on the facility, thank you, Mr. Taggart. Excellent job. We'll start with our Policy Committee report. Mr. Alcozer.
Thank you, Madam President, my fellow trustees, Dr. Smith. Our last meeting was on November the 2nd, and I want to call that our inaugural meeting to discuss the graduate profile. Well, we've talked about it in different terms: graduate profile, journey of a graduate, portrait of a graduate. Those are all interchangeable. We've used all three of those. One of the takeaways from that meeting is that it's not just about the grade. It's about a mindset. It's about life skills. It's about teaching these kids more than just delivering education to them. And we heard about that with Southwest. I mean, Southwest is kind of a model for that. I mean, I was thinking about the presentation that was done by Dr. Lovesmith, and I was thinking about some of the things that we discussed in our meeting. As Dr. Golden said, when you're trying to develop a graduate profile, it starts with the analysis of your policies. We looked at I think 8 different policies, 6 local, 2 legal. We didn't get into, and I want to say also that this is going to be a huge endeavor. This is going to be a project that's going to take a while to complete. Maybe not next year, maybe the following. Dr. Smith, would you agree with that? It's going to take a while. And the first step in that process is to develop a graduate profile design team. And what we're doing is we're trying to get a good cross-section of the community. I think each one of us delivered 2 names that we picked, all the trustees. But in talking to Dr. Golden today, I think there's been 100 or so invites out. Is that right? A little over 140. Right. Which includes students, includes parents, teachers as well, right? So we had a long discussion too about teachers playing an integral part in this process because they're the ones delivering the goods. So we want to hear from teachers. So the goal is to develop a profile that we're going to be proud of. It's something that the community wants from us. And once this profile is developed, it's going to affect everything that we do. It's going to affect decisions regarding staff. It's going to affect, like we talked about Goal 5 tonight, about utilizing our resources and how Ty likes to spend that money. It's going to affect that too, okay? So when we talk about facilities and we talk about graduate profile, we can't talk about one without the other. So it's gonna lay a framework, I think, for perhaps generations to come, and it's going to start here with this. So I'm really excited about this work. I wish I could discuss it a little bit more. Dr. Golden is really good about discussing the process and what's going to happen. So there's going to be 4 meetings. I think there's a meeting on the 17th, tomorrow, all Zoom meetings, 2 hours long, and then there's going to be a meeting on the 2nd of December, the 9th of December, and the 6th of January. I think we decided that instead of having to deal with 4 board members there, we're going to have 3 at each one if you decide to sign up, so that we don't have to go through the meeting process and kind of slow things down so we can get this process moving. So the first step is going to be this graduate profile design team, and they're going to have meetings. I think there's going to be some focus groups. There's going to be a question and answer session. And Dr. Smith, talking to Dr. Golden earlier, we're going to be assisted by another group. Is that right?
Yes, sir, and I'll elaborate a little bit in the superintendent's report, but yes, we're having an outside facilitator facilitate those 4 meetings for our design team.
Okay. So basically, it was just our inaugural meeting. We didn't get into making any decisions or coming in here and having people decide on anything. It's just that we had to start somewhere, and we started on November the 2nd. So it's going to be a long process. It's not something that's going to take place here in the next year. It may take longer than that. So this is something we're going to be discussing. Pretty much it's going to be an ongoing process. It may come up in other meetings as well.
Thank you, Mr.
I've got a
President.
quick question. So as far as the board's role in this, and maybe Melinda needs to answer it, or maybe Matt can, what are you expecting from the board? Are we mostly just a observing role in this?
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think the board, in your role in this, would be mostly an observation role. This is to see how the process plays out. This is ultimately going to come to you all for approval.
Right.
And so you'll be able to weigh in and mark your influence on the journey of a graduate document at the end. But participation in the meetings is really just about being able to see and hear what our community is talking about.
Very much like what we've done in the past on the community listening sessions, where we've sat in and listened and didn't really, do much other than listen, because it did eventually come to us for a decision. Awesome.
Chris, you have anything to add to that?
I could talk about this for days, so no, you did a great job.
Okay.
You got 10 seconds.
Yeah, no.
No, we did.
So
we did
seeing
have-
nothing further, go ahead,
Well,
Mr.
we did
Alcaraz.
have a long discussion about lots of different things, and I mean, we were going on lots of different areas, okay? So it is to me, it's a complicated process. And the main thing I want to report to you tonight is that the process has started.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay. That was just a report. We have no action on that item. Our next report will be our superintendent's report.
Madam President, members of the board, I appreciate your time tonight. We'll go to the next slide real quickly. The purpose of this presentation is to provide you updates on administrative items. Sorry, I got ahead of myself with my words there. Next slide, please. So a numbers update for y'all. We are currently, as of last week, at 12,651 enrolled students in Belton ISD. As you know, that's a little different from the number that Bob Templeton presented earlier. His numbers were gathered earlier in the year. These are from our wonderful PEAMS team that are given to us on a regular basis. Just for reference point, that's plus 40 from our last board meeting when I talked about that. And so these are the numbers that Clint gives me every time, and we're up 40 since that. You also see an uptick in the number of at-school learners, so we've had more students come back to school during that time and fewer students at-home learners, but it is worth noting that we're still talking about 2,700 at-home learners, so it's a big chunk of our population. Highlights from this, I want to call out just briefly, and I'll talk about this in more depth on the next slide. Student experiences are far more than classroom instruction. Classroom instruction adds to the student experience in the schools, but it's really been a highlight for me walking around and seeing some of the things that our kids are participating in that go beyond the classroom experiences. You saw our orchestra students tonight performing. My daughter would kill me, but she's not here tonight, so I picked my daughter up from school today, dropped her off, and asked her what was awesome about her day, like I do every day. And she talked to me about her experience in her culinary arts classroom as I sampled her muffin that has a little bit of improvement left to be made and all of that. But that is a highlight of her day. And I share that with you all because these learning don't print that either, Jacob. I share that with you all because these learning experiences are, yes, they're about academics, and yes, they're about books, but yes, they're about so much more than that to our kids. And I'm super excited about what I'm seeing in Belton ISD about those things. The second thing I'm thankful for in this is that our teachers are doing an amazing job in unprecedented times, in times that none of us would have ever predicted. Our teachers are doing nothing short of extraordinary work. When we talk about 2,700 students at home learners and those 9,000 students face-to-face, the passion that they have for ensuring that every one of them have their needs met is just unbelievable to me. As we talked about last month, that also comes with challenges because teachers are at heart perfectionists. They want to do their best. They want to put their best foot forward for our kids. And this is a tough time for them. So we exchanged information in a thought exchange. Our teachers provided us a lot of thoughts to mull over. And then we held some Zoom meetings with teachers, optional, and said, hey, we're going to listen. We're going to go over some of the data, and we want to just hear from you what's on your mind the most. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Our bands obviously have done extremely well, despite some of the challenging circumstances that you've seen through COVID. And then the other highlight that I've just noticed is how our community continues to rally around doing what's best for kids. And our beef example the other night is another good example of our community made adjustments to things that they've done for a long time, and they continue to rally around doing what's best for kids in Belton ISD. Next slide. So you see some pictures that we have here real quickly, and I want to talk about them briefly because I want to emphasize the point that experiences are about more than the learning in the classroom. As an English teacher, I thought for a while that, reading Hemingway or reading some Shakespeare, Ty and I would have really enjoyed those discussions, but there's a lot more to learning than that. And you see that in our schools each and every day. On the top left, you see a picture where we had some Partners PE classrooms that engaged in a experience at Halloween
that worked on inclusion practices and having fun with kids in the school setting so that everyone feels included and accepted in our schools. That isn't something you measure on a STAR test, and it's not something that you see in a classroom lesson plan, but it's an experience that our kids are having. You see over on the top right-hand side a celebration of Belton Middle School and the opening of a school that is dedicated to making sure that students feel included and safe in their school. You see down at the bottom the college signing day at Belton High School that we just recently had. You see that Beck's parade at Halloween where the teachers take such pride in this and making joy and experience a part of the day at Beck's. It's just beyond anything that I think that our schools get credit for in STAR testing and A through F reports. Over on the left-hand side, I wanted to highlight, while it just looks like a row of pumpkins for you, I want to highlight some of the ingenuity of our staff members. So there was a drive-by pumpkin parade at Lakewood Elementary School just to make sure that our community continues to feel like we're doing everything we can to drum up excitement for our students on a regular basis. And then at the top, I had the pleasure recently of walking with Hugh Shine through Lake Belton High School, and Jill Ross. Jill Ross has got the tour down of Lake Belton High School. If you haven't heard it lately, she has got it down. And we really enjoyed walking Hugh through that and his continued support. But again, we were walking through a band hall at that point and talking about the support for our kids. These experiences that you all provide, that we all join together and provide for our kids, we have the opportunity to create life-changing moments, and I thank you for that opportunity each and every day. Next slide. Is that it? Oh, this is the feedback from our teachers on Thought Exchange, and I talked to you a little bit about the Thought Exchange and the listening sessions. Key themes that came out for us during this time were, hey, we need more time. Teachers are saying, this is tough stuff. We need more planning time. And we appreciate everything that's been done so far, but this is hard work and work that nobody has ever endeavored before. So we're working on some proposals on that one that we intend to bring back to you all next month at the board meeting to talk about how we could possibly get more teacher planning time into our schedule. The second bullet, new instructional practices equals different support. So the game is changing so fast, we don't know exactly what to provide sometimes. But example in this is a teacher saying, hey, I'm struggling, I'm getting hybrid kids in my classroom, we're doing our best in all this, it would really help us if you. And so we're taking that feedback, and our teams, like our teaching and learning team, are doing whatever we can to figure out what additional supports we can provide to those teachers based on their feedback. Clarifying needs and expectations, this is one that I wanted to point out to you all tonight. We're about ready to get some information out to our public just to continue to ensure that we're all on the same page regarding needs and expectations. And one of those is about attendance and actually having kids engage fully in the learning process if they are home, or engage fully if they're in the learning process if they are at school. Obviously, with so many moving parts, we have some things that we need to tighten up a little bit, and our teachers said, it would really help if we had some clarity around attendance taking procedures and making sure that kids were face-to-face if they're face-to-face learners, et cetera. So we're getting ready for some additional communication to go out to our community about that, just to clarify those expectations. Finally, the implications of at-home learning, the worry that is on teachers' minds about, I don't know how my kids are doing. Like, I can't see them every day face-to-face if they're at home, and I'm struggling with that. And so we are doing our best, as Deanna said earlier, to really talk about our assessment systems and our support systems to try and make sure that we have a clear and accurate picture of how each and every student in our system is doing on a regular basis. So we're continuing to work through those things. Our next steps are to actually publish out to our teachers a list of the things that we are saying based on their feedback we are going to try and do, so that they know we are directly reacting to their feedback they have given us. I've said all along that this can't be a one-person solution to a pandemic. Nobody knows how to do this right. It has to be great minds getting together and figuring out the best solutions possible. So I thank our teachers for their participation in that thought exchange and in those listening sessions, so that we can provide the best remedies for them to help them do the best job possible in the classroom.
So will you provide future thought exchanges for teachers, like maybe just kind of a pulse check
Yes.
on a quarterly or whatever that time would look like?
So we're paired that with also, I do listening sessions with every campus, and we have them scheduled out through the year so that it's just teachers and I talking about what's on your mind, what can we do better as a school district, what are you proud of, but what are you struggling with? So we're going to continue those campus-based listening sessions one by one throughout the whole school year, but I also promised the teachers during these Zoom meetings that we would have follow-ups to this. They also know that I am more than willing to sit down and talk with them and hear their voices and all of this, because if we don't listen to our teachers about what's going well, but also what they're struggling with during a pandemic, then we're missing the boat. So they know that that's coming.
Great job.
I've
Thank you.
got a quick thing I'd like to say. What I hear from my teacher friends is we're so tired. I just hear that over and over. And I know that a lot of these things sort of, if you read between the lines, that's what they're saying. But when they say it to their friend, they say, I'm so tired. And I want teachers, anybody hearing this or listening to this, know that we feel that. If there's any way that we as a board can support that, or if there's something we can do to help get them through this time, because we know how fatiguing this is, all that's expected of them right now. I think that is paramount to everything else, is just how tired they are.
We have been using the phrase that in order for students to thrive, we believe we need to have staff that can thrive in a system. And so we do intend to bring you back some proposals here in December to help make sure that our teachers feel well supported. And to Janet's point, everybody's tired. It is nonstop. If you just think about COVID cases and contact tracing and all the things that are happening on the weekends and phone calls happening and planning and all of the things that happen at multiple layers of our system, people haven't had a break from that since March. And so I applaud all of them, and we are going to do our best to help alleviate some of the stress on them. Next slide, please. Last couple of things on COVID-19 update. We're in scenario 3 right now. I would be remiss not to point out that we have to be diligent with our safety precautions, and we need our community to be partners with us in this. We all know the data in Bell County continues to go in the opposite direction of what we would like, and yet we also know that our schools have done a good job of keeping kids safe and mitigating the spread of the coronavirus in our schools. I believe today we have 16 active cases on our dashboard, as I counted up earlier. While it's 16 too many, in my opinion, we are proud of the work that we have done to make sure that we are not, our numbers aren't escalating drastically. That being said, I worry a lot about the Thanksgiving break coming up, and I ask for support and help from our partners in the homes in the community, the parents and the families, because I do know it's hard when we get outside of the school setting. Nobody wants to adhere to 6 feet. Nobody wants to wear a mask all the time. But the more we can actually partner together to continue to do some of these things, the more chance we're going to have to keep kids face-to-face in instruction. And we all know that's the best place for kids to be right now. I do also want to say real quickly that we have said since July, when we started talking about all of this, that we have to be prepared for all scenarios. The rumor mills will start, especially with COVID numbers continuing to rise. And I would encourage all community members to continue to point back to official district communications about things. Are we planning for all scenarios in case something happens? Yes. I think it would be a miss on my part as a superintendent if we weren't planned to go to another at-home learning scenario, because I don't want to repeat what we had in the spring. We know that if we have to be at home, we're going to make sure that our students continue learning. We know that we might have to employ different methods, like hybrid methods, if numbers continue to rise. And so we are prepared to move between scenarios if needed, and we don't take those decisions lightly. But I also need everyone to hear that the more we can focus on those mitigation strategies now, and the more we can have our parents partner with us on those strategies, the better chance we have of not having to go to those other scenarios. So appreciate you all as key communicators in our school district to continuing to reinforce that. And while we are preparing for all scenarios, please know that any official communication from the school district will come out to our public in the The Facebook gossip chains are probably not the best way to get the information on this right now. Next slide. Mr. Schiller, is there anything that I need to report? I don't believe there's anything that I need to report for our March 17th resolution items. Next slide. And that closes the superintendent report for the month.
Good deal. Any comments, questions, concerns? No? Thank you, Dr. Smith, for that report, those reports. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Does any member of the board wish to have any item pulled for discussion? If not, is there an approval to approve as presented? Mr. Taggart, is there a second? I'm sorry, Mr. Floor. All in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. Next item, board request for new information and/or reports. Board members, do you all have any requests for new information and/or reports? Anything from the floor? No? Anything up here on the dais? No? All right, we'll move on to our calendar of events. You all have a copy of this, but I will point out a couple of things. Mr. Alcozer pointed out that tomorrow starts the Journey of a Graduate meeting. That's tomorrow evening for those of you attending. And then we've got a couple of more fitted in there between the next couple of weeks. There is a break, a Thanksgiving break from November 23 to 27. BISD will be closed. And then we have a meeting with, or there is a third house session with Republican Shine at 7 a.m. on Monday, December the 14th. And then that same evening will be our next regular board meeting. If you need those dates or have questions about that, I'm sure we can get those to you if you don't have them. For our next item, the board is going to be going into closed session. We don't expect to take any action when we return. We will be going into closed session to discuss deliberations about real property, Texas Government Code Section 551.072, consultation with attorney, Texas Government Code Section 551.072, and personnel, Texas Government Code Section 551.074. Again, we don't expect to take any action when we return. At this point, we will adjourn this particular meeting and go into closed session. Thank you all for attending. All righty then. It is 8:26. We are reopening a regular session. It is 8:26 with no further business. We are closed and adjourned for the evening. Thank you.